Hello everyone. Today I'm going to continue a little bit on something that I showed yesterday during a live stream, and it's about Vertex animation tools. And in this case I'm not going to use the Vertex animation tools for animation, but just use a separate frame for a different shape of a mesh. It's easier if I showed you. So I got a simple cube here. It is a little bit high on the polygon count, but it should be fine for the showcase. Now I added a spherify that spheres the cube and a twist that will twist the cube. I'm gonna get some states going. I'm gonna just auto key it. We need the first frame for the cube, and in 2 frames I'm actually gonna spherify this cube, and now it's a sphere. And 2 more frames I'm actually gonna disable the spherify and get a twist going, about 90 degrees give or take. Should be fine there. And I'm gonna key that as well. I need to be sure that this twist doesn't activate during spherify, so there we go. And in 2 more frames, let's actually add a spherify to this. There we go. So now we have 1 frame for the cube, another frame for the sphere, a 3rd frame for the twisted cube, and another frame for the twisted sphere, even though you can't really see it, but you get that idea. So then I'm going to use the Vertex animation tools, and if you have Unreal Engine 4 installed and you had the option to install the extra content, you'll find this in the Epic Games folder. Choose any of your Unreal Engine 4 versions, go to Engine, Extras, 3S Max Scripts, and you'll have a plethora of Max Scripts here. And in this case you just need the Vertex animation tools. Just drag and drop it into the Max screen and it should work. There we go. I'm going to export this. I'm going to be sure that this is 6 frames. Yes, so I need to make sure that the anim end is 6. There we go. And I'm going to process this animated mesh. I'm going to save this as morph cube X in this case. I'm going to save it. Now I also received a new mesh. It's called Morph UV2 Morph Export, and this is the mesh you want to export for the animation. It has the UV maps, UV channel set up properly. So export this mesh, export selected, and I'm gonna call it static mesh cube morph X in this case. Okay, and now let's go to Unreal Engine. I'm gonna import that mesh, the cube morph X. I need to be sure that remove degenerates is off. I can set enable generate light maps, but I don't need them in this case, so that's fine. I'm going to import it. There's the mesh. I'm also going to import the 2 textures the tool exported. And let's see. Where are you? Cube morph X. I like to have this in details. That way I can get the latest ones. In this case, I need these 2, the BMP file and the EXR file. Okay, need to be sure that the settings are correct, so I'm going to double check everything. Bitmap should be off, the texture group should be UI, the compression settings for the normal texture should be HDR, and sRGB should be disabled. This is fine. Now let's go to the normal one. Bitmap settings should be off, the texture group should be UI again, the compression settings should be vector displacement map, and sRGB should be off. That should be it. Okay, now let's make a material and call it material cube morph or whatever you want to call it. And for this we need a nice little material function and called max script vertex animation tools morph targets. There we go. And I'm also going to need to get the 2 textures. There, and I'm also going to use this mesh that we exported and imported as the preview mesh. Alright, both of these need to be texture objects, so I'm going to right mouse click on them, convert to texture object. The normal one, as you can see here, normal, should go into the morph normal. There, and the regular one should go into the morph texture. And as you can see, we had 7 frames in total, 0 to 6. 0 to 6. So, and you can also double check in the texture viewer, where the max in-game should 602 by 7, and we need that 7 value. So let's get a scalar value going. Hold down the 1 button on your keyboard and left mouse click. And let's add 7 here. Now we told this tool that there are only 7 frames. There. Now additionally we need to add some customized UVs, and we need 4. So let's add 4, because this custom UV3 output should go into the customized UV3, UV21 should go into UV2, the world position offset should go into world position offset, and as you can see the cube is already nicely morphing. Now we don't need the tangent space normals in this case, so we can disable them in this view and get this going to the normal map. Now for a little bit better view, let me add a small value to the base color. There. Now I don't want this to be for the actual animation, I want it for frames. So what we could do is actually get either a scalar value or another way to do it, but since I'm going to use this for particles, I'm going to get a dynamic parameter and call the first one cube morph and plug it into the morph animations. There. Now it should be a nice sphere, though I can actually set it to start as a cube. There. And that should be it. Though if you want to do through Blueprint or whatever, which you can also do, you can just get a scalar parameter, plug it in, and basically just get any value for this nice little cube. There. Anything else? I think let's go to Cascade. There we go. I'm going to save this material real quick. And the reason I'm showing you Cascade is because that's my forte, of course. If you want to do it through Blueprint or other means, then definitely do it like that. In my case, I probably use it in a particle system. There we go. Get the type data, mesh data. I don't need the initial velocity. I only need to spawn 1 each time. So I'm going to distribute constant float so it instantly turns to 0 and add a burst of 1. There. Now it emits 1 cube each time. I'm just going to set the looping to 1 for now and get my mesh going, which I can select here. Basically, a nice way to do that is actually, if you still have the mesh open in your viewer, then you can just press this magnifying glass. It will find it in your content browser, and then I can just go to mesh data and click on this arrow and it will select that mesh. It will be a bit big, but I'll make sure that won't happen in a few seconds. I'm also going to select the material, magnifying glass, and then go to particle and enable required. And there, I should also make sure that you can override the material. In the meantime, I can set the initial size of this cube a bit smaller, or a lot smaller actually. There. And we need the dynamic parameter. And there. Always refresh it, because as you can see at the moment 0 still says that the parameter name is none, and if I refresh it, it'll tell me that the cube morph is found in the material. Now I only need this on spawn time only, so I'm going to enable that, and in the distribution I'm going to set a uniform there between 0 and 1. Now, every time it loads, it picks another state. And this is quite handy. I mean, imagine a tree and you can have different branches that can be controlled by a simple scalar value. The biggest difference will be just maybe angles of the tree, but it will give you an additional variation. You could also do this for other shapes, like maybe different spiked balls or slightly different shaped swords, you name it. As long as the vertex count is under 8192 if I'm correct, because that's the maximum amount Unreal Engine 4 can handle in the vertex animations. So yeah, keep this in mind, because this can be fairly cheap. Instead of having a lot of different meshes imported, you can have one mesh that has just very different, slightly different vertex shapes, positions, and that can save some memory in some cases. It depends a bit on the vertex count, the draw calls, that kind of stuff, but it's a nice additional option to have. I hope this taught you something, and take care.